I'm in a really privileged position here because I can mess about and experiment to my heart's content. I'm always trying to come up with new ideas. Not that there's really any great advantage in that because the guitar buying public is so conservative. A while back I was looking for some carbon fibre rods to brace the top of one of my NCG drifters, and I came across this stuff, which is it's called Nomex. It's a cellular hexagonal sheet that's used, they use it in racing cars for fillers in body panels to reduce the overall mass. I thought, what great stuff. I need to try and use that. So I've now bought some and I'm going to try and use it. I did think about a guitar top with that sandwiched in clear resin. I thought maybe I could call it the NCG Matrix or the NCG Neo. Read William Gibson if you like sci-fi. There's a bit of a clue. Then I realised 81 Guitar Works has already done one, a really good one. But I'm still going to carry on and make a top. I'm also going to try initially making some control plates similar to these. These were done in sand cast aluminium. And one thing just leads to another. You know, I made these in resin first. Made a latex mould, that was interesting if you don't like getting sticky. Ended up having some of these sand cast. Then tried my hand at engraving, which I wouldn't recommend. But you just never know where it will lead. So there is a video where I'm fitting these on to an NCG Bayou or a slightly different angle on the Bayou, and I think they look great. I came up with this idea, I don't know what it was, 4 or 5 years ago now. The T-bar ties the neck plate and the string ferrule block together, and there may or may not be all sorts of good reasons for doing it. I thought it was a cool idea, so I had some made. Then I discovered a bloke in Australia who's been making them for about 10 years. That's the beauty of the internet, I guess. Sandcast pickup rings, they look really nice, worked out very well. I've just found in my store cupboard some metal powder that I don't even remember buying. Tin's gone rusty, so it's been around a while, but I thought, right, I need to start doing something with that. Don't quite know what, but I'll come up with something. As I say, one thing just leads to another, so now I'm going to cast some new control plates, same format as this, but do them with the Nomex sheet in resin. So we'll see how we go with that. This is an experiment with some of the Nomex, hopefully to make a new control plate. That's the template, or at least it'll be that shape, which I will need to mark out on the resin that's already been poured, and then we'll try filling it with some coloured dots. Well, this is the stuff of nightmares if you don't like getting sticky. Heat it with a hairdryer just to get out any air bubbles. Looks kind of, I don't know, Gaudi-esque maybe. Not finished yet. Not sure about this one. I think more patience is needed. It's quite interesting. You can get the resin to bleed into different areas using the hairdryer, which surprised me. But it's very difficult to maintain the honeycomb structure. I think there's a lot of patience needed, and you need to do this in different stages, so 24 hours between each colour, which is not how I like to operate. So this needs topping off now with a clear coat. I I'll do that tomorrow. I think I can probably salvage something from it. It looks a bit of a mess now at the minute. I should have left it as it was. But it's just an experiment. We've also got some experiments with resin dots. Plane these up in a minute, see what happens. I've just planed up the dots and they might work. It certainly needs to be a totally opaque resin, not like that one or that one. I tried some thumbnails, but unfortunately I hadn't set it up properly and the resin's leaked, but it's still promising. So here we have the great unveil. Well, I suppose we would have if it wasn't so well stuck down. So here it is. That's actually worked really well. If it wasn't for the dreadful bleed in the colours, which is my fault. It machines up quite well on the bandsaw. It's flat, it's quite strong, easily strong enough for a control plate when you consider how flexible the pick guard is on a strap, for instance. So the next thing I'm going to do is machine that up into with the router to the same size as the control plate. In actual fact, what I was considering the top face, which is that one, that face is far more interesting. You can see the individual colours much better. That's the top face. And that's the face that was in contact with the baseboard. And I think I much prefer that. I've decided to run with the baseboard face being the top visible face. That I'm going to use that as my template, which is one of the sand cast aluminium control plates. Cut it roughly to shape on the bandsaw and then route it to the finished size. The only issue with this stuff is it's difficult to mark, so I've stuck masking tape on it just to get a few lines on. I'll cut it to within a couple of millimetres and then the router can do the rest. Cut out using the bandsaw and then trimmed up with the router. It's actually worked quite well. You will of course have spotted the deliberate mistake, and that is I've cut the wrong side. So the finish I wanted, which was that one, I've cut it left-handed. Took my eye off the ball there. So if anybody wants a left-handed Bayou with a prototype pick guard or cover plate, let me know. But that's how it will sit, albeit in a recessed panel. But it's just an idea, just an experiment. I'm now going to make a latex mould slightly bigger than this, so I can put more honeycomb in and try and do it in a much neater, more pleasing fashion. I guess ultimately it's all subjective, but that looks like, I don't know, Well, I can't say on camera. I think that's a more interesting face. Made up a simple wooden frame that I'm going to cast the latex in, and an oversized MDF former, which will give me the oversized shape in the mould to allow the Nomex honeycomb to be laid in, and then more resin cast. This is the stuff, mixed by weight. That one's holding down, and you've got to remember that that face will be the top face when you cast your final resin. Grams. Horrible stuff. Sort of self-leveling. Weighted down because it leaks everywhere. That needs leaving 24 hours now. The great release, it says. No, it's not having it. Razor blade required. They could make all sorts of bits and pieces. One latex mould. So I've cut a piece of Nomex roughly to shape that will fit in the mould. And that now needs burying in about a 2 to 3 millimeter deep layer of clear resin, and that will then be left to go off, and I can then think about colour filling it. The mould is it's obviously very easy to make, and I did do these pickup rings earlier with a different mould that I made, and they're great because they're strong enough. You can, once you've made your mould, you can make the rings very quickly in any colour you want, so you can really play around and come up with some neat ideas and colour schemes. Or you could just stick to plain old black and cream, you know, like everybody has done for the last 70 odd years. The other really interesting thing with this stuff, the mould, the latex, is you could obviously texture your former. So yeah, that could have been wrapped or had dried leaves glued to it, and once you'd laid it in and cast it, you'd end up with a dried leaf pattern in your latex, which would imprint onto your resin. The resin picks up the finest detail. I mean, a hairline in this will appear on the face of the resin. So if any of you out there have, you know, with the pet snakes, if you've got any snake skin, please stick it in the post to me and I'll give it a go. While I'm at it, bound to have some spare resin left over from the control plate. I thought I might try some of the metal powder I've been banging on about in the pickup ring mould. Just see how it turns out. That's copper. So with that, whatever resin I've got left, I'll top up this mould. Just needs covering over and leaving 24 hours.